Hey, Magic Weaver, and welcome back to the Weaving Magic podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Lilly,
And I'm Tara Webb.
and we are going to dive into some witchy shit.
Yes, because we feel the need to come back to it ourselves, as well as talking about coming back to it.
Mhm.
Because if we don't have awareness around it, then it's easy for it to kind of just slip away. And Alyssa and I both pulled cards to start off because, like, what better way to easily come back to your practice? I feel like card pulling and grabbing a crystal are like the easiest ways. Maybe even lighting a candle. It doesn't have to be like a super witchy candle, but just lighting something. Because us witches like to play with fire.
Yes, light everything on fire, but safely.
We're pyros, it's okay. And it's hilarious because, of course, our cards align. Duh, why wouldn't they?
Every freaking time. It shouldn't surprise me anymore, but it always does.
Because it's beautiful. So I pull from the deck the Muse Tarot. I love this deck. It's so beautiful. And this one that I pulled is the Two of Voices, which is very similar to the Two of Swords. They've like shifted the name of it.
And if you're not used to tarot, I have a very bittersweet relationship with swords. They're very sharp and to the point, hits the sword. So I'm getting ready for this.
But it's beautiful too, because I love this deck because it takes it all in beauty, right? It doesn't
Tarot, well, there's beauty in the shadows, right?
Yes, tarot is not meant to be like the doom and gloom tower and you're gonna die. Like it's there's lessons within each of it.
I feel like when swords come up, it's always, I'm gonna call you out on your shit right now.
Which we need. That's why we're talking about this shit. Yeah. So this one, keywords would be like indecision and feeling like you're between a rock and a hard place. So two paths, two options. One is real, one is not. One leads to a future, and one will fade away as potential without form. The Two of Voices sits at the doorway, gently spinning dualities for the travelers below. She offers paths that lead in different directions so that we remember that we have free will. Even rocks and hard places contain energy that can be removed, and sometimes it must be walked through. When choices appear equally sweet or equally sticky, appreciate the slightest of nudges, the subtle tuggings on the strings, and trust that even without predictability or foresight, the path you take will be the right path for you. Know that sometimes the destination is not as important as the steps taken, and that progress made with love, while listening to the whispers of your soul, oh, I love that, will always lead to transformative power of the right choice. And then I laugh because they each have a little poem, and this one is two choices equally horrible. Laughable, palpable, stuck. This angst leaves me lost with nowhere to know. Two the same, both the best. What the fuck?
Oh,
if that's not like our life right now.
Truth. That is a whole lot of truth. And I feel like there's this misconception of, when you start growing and living your best life and tapping into your highest self, that it's just going to be this easy peasy. I don't know why trollop is the word that came to my mind. Frolic, I think, is the word I was going, like frolicking in the woods. And that's not true. It's really learning about riding the waves of emotions and decisions and watching how you continue to grow as you navigate the difficult terrain.
It definitely is. I think that we think that there's not going to be those ups and downs, and if there is a down, we're not doing something right. And that's not true. We have to have those downs, those low energy days, those low, we're just like crappy, grumpy.
Yeah.
Grumpy monkeys.
We're moms.
Yeah, we're feeling that energy because we have to have those to then pop back up. That's our resting space. And typically we're grumpy because we haven't given ourselves that chance to rest.
And also, what the heck does it mean by making the right decision, right? That's such a relative term. And let me read to you, Magic Weaver.
There's not a right decision because they're both horribly laughable. So
horribly laughable and sticky for some reason. And of course, like we said, my card goes perfectly with hers, and mine is an affirmation card because I'm all about my affirmations. No one else knows what they're doing either. It's all going to turn out fine.
Which is so true.
And when we talk about coming back to our practice, I think one of the biggest hesitations I know that I had when I first started diving into spirituality, and for me, it's turned into more of witchcraft and being witchy, is, oh gosh, I have to follow a specific recipe and I have to do it just right. And I need someone to tell me what to do, and I need a teacher. And it's, nobody knows, everybody's following their own intuition, and you have your own magic, and it's going to look different for everyone. It's like a love language with the universe, right?
It is. And we also try to follow those outlines because that's what we're taught. We're taught in school, which is so, once again, laughable to me. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And yes, you go live your dreams and here's the outline. But the second we step out, it's like, why are you doing that? That's not the way you're supposed to do it. And even within school, it's, you have to do math this way, art this way, specific things this way. In some religions, it's very structured on, this is exactly when you pray, how you pray, what you do. And so we walk into spirituality, walk into witchy shit, and we're like, wait, you're not going to tell me what to do? But I don't know what to do. How do I know I'm doing it right? And I think if there's anything that you really grasp from this episode with us, is that there is no right way. It's only what is right for you. And I will say there are some things that, like, universal are like, you probably shouldn't do that.
Probably shouldn't go around killing people. Not a great idea.
Probably, like, another one being like, you shouldn't technically make spells for other people, like in the sense of like putting a spell on somebody else. That's not really, but I mean, those are, I think, are like common sense things, right? We're talking about, wait, I'm supposed to be facing west during calling of the directions, but I'm north, and oh no, like getting caught up in those things is like, it's fine. Really, if you feel like you're facing west on purpose, or north, or whatever, facing the sky, follow it, because that's the divine leading you.
And I would say that mirrors perfectly with navigating your own emotions and getting to know yourself too. Because as emotions come up, what do? We overthink it. We try to put a story behind it, and we get in our head instead of in our body and feeling what's going on. And I feel like that's very much what magic is, because it comes from within, it comes from our body, but we're too busy intellectualizing it that we don't experience the magic that's happening.
And definitely, with, at least for our practices, being a witch is very grounded. And while it's important to have that connection to your third eye, have the connection with the divine, you have to integrate it. It can't just be up in your mind. You have to, shake your ass, work it around, maybe, have some pleasure with it. I mean, that's where it starts to manifest out into the world. And for us, that looks like scheduling witchy shit together every.
We're on the same page.
Because we've needed it. We have, well, let's say we've started, obviously, with all that we talk about, you are always tapping into your magic. We've said drinking your water, playing with your kids, taking time for yourself. There are so many ways to just be magical. Those are valid and so needed. But also those intentional times when you come back to your craft to be silent, to joke, to laugh, to play, those are important. And scheduling it into your calendar, I think, is a fabulous way to begin to commit to yourself again.
And committing to yourself when you schedule it, right? How many times does Wednesday come around and we're like, oh, we're going to do it. And we always end up having a good time, or getting the laugh that we need, and having that, I almost feel like for us, it's a sacred gathering. I know we're in our own energy, but our energy together is also just so beautiful. And accountability is always really important, in having someone that you trust, but I guess you don't have to have that. Just scheduling that time for yourself works too. I'm just very blessed to have an awesome best friend.
And I think, it'd be cool, right, if there's at least one other person.
Yeah.
We've made it so special because we're dorks, and I love it. same, we have the same robe that we wear during our witchy shit practices because it makes us feel like the goddess energy that we're wanting to call in. I mean, masculine energy is important, but when we do our witchy shit stuff, it's like we want this feminine energy really just pouring through us. And I mean, we talk every day, but once again, reminding yourself that you can step out of that everyday just circle and hectic and like, what we talk about is business stuff and fun stuff of our lives, but coming back to, coming on a call or just being in your room and pulling a card for, what do I need right now?
Or talking about mythology and runes and pulling cards and making our own face masks and drawing sigils on our face.
Which that's a fun way to incorporate being witchy into like daily practices if you're feeling just really tired and maybe you don't have the chance to schedule that in quite yet. If you want to connect self-love with your witchy practice, do a face mask. Ours was with Alyssa did blood and I'm not bleeding at the moment, so I did some like elixir of something. But like even if it's just a regular face mask, do some runes or make your own sigil and draw it on your face, on your body before you cover it, so that you can really embody that energy that you're wanting to go through, that protection.
Or when you're putting your moisturizer on your face, you can always draw the sigils and then rub them in with intention.
That's even more so daily practice. Like that's something I feel like I can do because we do that more regularly than masking.
Yeah.
And another way to come back to your practice, I feel like when we start to slip away into the abyss of
daily chaos.
Yeah, I had nothingness, but it wasn't really nothingness. It just feels like, because you feel like you're just going, right?
You're
Like
stuck on repeat. Yeah.
See what deity energy is calling to you, because I feel like when you're abandoning certain pieces of that ritualistic life for yourself, there's a deity, there's a goddess or god energy that's like, hey, I'm here to guide you back. I'm here to really help. And I mean, for me, that's Odin, and that's really weird to say, but like Odin and Freya energy is all around me, and I honestly haven't fully stepped into what that means, but
because it's intimidating. We don't know anything about it, right? So it's an unknown area.
That is another space, right, where we talk about how do we do this correctly, because they're deities. And if one, we're going to hell for it. 2, what if I put the water on the left side and they like sand on the right? Like, I mean, just small things. We really do.
I don't know if I want to piss off a deity today.
But you have to remember, if you're feeling that energy, then they're calling you for a reason, and they're more than likely lenient and like willing to walk you through and navigate you. I mean, Alyssa, you connect with 3 of them kind of now, right?
4
of them.
So the first deity that I ever connected with was Persephone. I lived in my house for a year and a half and I hadn't planted any lilies anywhere. And all of a sudden I had these random bright pink lilies growing around the perimeter of my house, not even together, just spread out. And what? I started really connecting with Persephone, and that was around the time of my spiritual awakening. And then Hecate started calling out to me. And then I started getting some Medusa vibes. I feel like Medusa's I know it's not really technically a goddess, but I feel like she's chilling in the background, like, hey, I'm here if you need me. It's cool. And then more recently, I've been getting a lot of Loki energy, which I have no idea what to do with.
I mean, I feel like Medusa isn't goddess by name,
but goddess energy for sure.
Just because a god put her down because of how badass that she was. Like that's all it is. The same thing for side note on this. If you don't know, if you look up goddess of, I'm trying to think what I was looking up. Goddess of, what was it, like creativity? There was something, Pandora. I was thinking of Pandora's box. Alyssa, do you know what I'm thinking of? What that there's a specific word, and it's like goddess of freedom or goddess of something like that. And there's not actually a goddess for that energy. Pandora is the closest. And if you look at what Pandora is, the freedom, the wind blowing right, and that's seen as negative. Pandora is a box that you open it and you're just like Eve and you've destroyed everything. And so curiosity, I think, is what it is the goddess of curiosity.
Mm.
Because when we're curious as women, as assigned females at birth.
Oh, that's not allowed.
No, I mean, look at there's Eve, there's Pandora, at least. Like we at least have those two. I can't think of any others at the moment. But I mean, those energies of look what you've done. And so that curiosity, I really find Pandora energy to be just beautiful and powerful.
Mm. I never really thought about that before, but there are so many stories of where women or women figures are curious and they go to explore, and it's instantly look at, you need to be shameful or need to feel shame for stepping out of this outlined box that we had for you.
Well, it's the same mindset of being of a cat. And you know, we have taken those little, I don't know what they're called, but like those little quips that we have. Curiosity killed the cat.
Mm.
Those things. And that's not the entire phrase. There's more to it.
Satisfaction brought it back.
Right. So like you don't hear those little final pieces, and it's like, oh, you're gonna be a cat and you're gonna be dead because you're so curious.
Well, actually, my satisfaction's gonna bring me back, so it'll be all right.
And see, that reminds me of like, you know, Medusa energy.
Yes, absolutely, 1,000%.
Recently, I learned even more about some goddess archetypes. And I feel like that's a fun way to come back into your practice as well, because it helps you look at who you are and, you know, where you're wanting to go and what you're resisting. And what you're resisting is typically kind of, I feel like, where you're meant to be going in some ways, you know. Like for me, my goddess archetypes at the moment really are mother, because I'm always nurturing others, and the mystic. That's kind of where I've been feeling that more so. Hello, Black Widow spiders. Like
You need to tell that story so it makes sense.
So as we know, my chosen last name is Webb, and I've been feeling so much energy around, how do we say it's pronounced? Cider? Is it Seder?
Seder.
I think it's Seder. But this is with, you know, Norse mythology and that kind of thing, and that's still the weaving of stuff, weaving stories and magic and that kind of thing. And I've seen so many spiders, and it's funny because my longest friend that I've known since high school, we were driving in college, and I totally forgot about this until she told me recently, because I told her about this story, and she was like, do you remember when we were driving on the road and there's a spider on your window that you almost made us crash, and we had to like pull over the side of the road so you could actually get the spider off your window? I was like, no. No, I did not remember this. I do now. So like spiders have been following me in some ways. And I was actually recording a story on our Instagram, either ours or my personal, and I was like, da 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 da. Yeah, I just saw Black Widow, you know, da, 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 no big deal. And it's funny because I like recently had this conversation with Leslie, who is on our like 4th episode, go check it out, about literally earlier that day about that. And so I walked away and went to get my husband and was like, hey, you, can you come help me? And he's like, I just got in the shower, like just climbed into the shower. So we waited.
Your help.
Yeah, we waited. I went to find it, couldn't find it. It was gone. Oh, so then I called Alyssa, and Alyssa's like, what the fuck? Why?
She's like, I need your help. Please help me. I'm like, I'm terrified of spiders too, so I don't know how much help I'm going to be.
So we looked up pictures trying to determine what it actually was.
I looked up pictures for you. I'm never going to let you forget that.
And finally my husband got out, and we go and find it, and he found it and he trapped it. And I think he was like, you know, joking with me and was like, yeah, you know, I've trapped it, you can go take it away. And he starts to leave from the kitchen, and I legit had a panic attack, like breathing, could not, I mean, the spider's trapped, it can't get out. And I still was just like, oh, just, you know, panicky. And Justin had to be there with me to, like, I was crying, to calm me down. And he's like, bro, I'll take it out, but like, I need you to calm down. And I did. And he put paper under it. And even me being as terrified as I was like, well, is the paper thick enough? Like maybe, like terrified, legit terrified. And I truly believe this has to do with a past life of mine that I have no idea what it is. But that's the mystic energy that's calling through me, because Black widows are about that transformation, about that dark beauty. And I really feel, and I have felt this for a long time, that kind of a side note, that spiders and snakes, and I think even scorpions, are all seen as just this venomous, poisonous things. They're so deadly. Be terrified. And yes, they can be, right? But the patriarchy has kind of shifted that, because those were images and still are images of the goddess.
Mhm.
Hecate, Medusa, and Loki. And I'm not sure about Persephone. That's snake energy right there. And they're all beautiful. I mean, I had a dream recently where I had a snake in the dream, and it's the difference between a king snake and a coral snake. They look very similar. One was telling me it could be an imposter. The other, king snake, is actually very safe because it kills other snakes, right? And so if we have this knowledge about these beings, these animals, then we don't have to just walk on eggshells and have fear around it constantly. Movies have really trained us to be scared of this. Like the spider's going to jump at you, and there are very few spiders that walk. So long story is, like, my mystic energy is really calling me to study deeper into this, even though I'm terrified. Like, you can hear, just legit terrified, because I feel like there's something deeper there. The energy that I am, because we got a long story, that I have been resisting is the huntress energy, which is radical acceptance, which I feel ties into mystic some. But I mean, who feels that deep calling to just be able to walk outside and say, this is who I am, this is what I want, I'm going for it, I don't give a fuck, whatever, right? Like, that's the hunter energy.
Yeah, and it's no shocker that we're completely aligned here. But I definitely feel a deep calling for the huntress energy of just not giving a shit. Shit is the word today. I don't know why I've said shit like 5 times, but really just not caring about existing. Like I exist, and that's okay. And I am going to express myself how I want, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I am going to take up space.
Which is very important for your practice as I feel like when we skip out on our practice, we aren't taking up space. We're intentionally closing ourselves up again, because we have so much other stuff to do that's more important than taking that time for ourselves, being intentional with our practice, even if that just means you take notice of the moon outside, right? And it's a full moon. I'm just going to put some water on the windowsill and let it energetically charge my water. Like, that's another thing that you can do that is just an easy way to step back into your practice.
And I will say something fun that we started doing, I believe it was from a card pull that you did, Tara, for our Weaving Magic community. Shameless drop there. We have a community. You should totally join us. We do weekly card pulls. But there was one that talked about doing a full moon ritual, which is literally just standing outside and howling at the moon. And so we haven't done it this full moon, but last full moon, my son and I and my husband all went outside. We're like, oh, and we had a lot of fun just being out and moon bathing, essentially.
That's another way. Sunbathing and moonbathing. We've talked about that before. Just because those are intentional. What better way to connect with, to kind of like go into your own worship? Nature is the way I feel like I go to church, in a sense, being out with all that's around me. We have a fun game for you, Magic Weaver.
Are you ready? As we're in this bubbly, giggly, I don't give a shit energy.
It's a full moon. It's okay.
Oh, it is a full moon. You're right.
So our game is to have is to find a way to help you like get back into your fun, playful energy. Because I feel like when we play, that starts tapping us into,
That's when the real magic happens.
it does. So we're going to, let me first explain kind of what this is. We're going to talk about spirit animals. And spirit animals are those energies or like literal animal presence. I'm going to talk about a black widow, those kind of things in your life. If you're always finding feathers, if you're seeing ants everywhere, if flies are coming to you constantly, even mosquitoes, like they're annoying, but if you attract more mosquitoes, just things like that, that can be your spirit animal, your spirit energy that's connecting with you. And Alyssa and I have a few, but right now we're in like very playful mindsets. And there's a way that you can actually begin to work on your intuition, on your mind reading. And this is a fun game to play with someone that you really know and feel confident with, right? It could be even your kids, because kids love guessing games. And so one way to do this is like, for example, you say, I'm going to choose a number between 1 and 10, and you look at the person and say that you're choosing the number. You think the number in your head, and you basically mentally scream it at them. Or
aggressively.
Yes, or like you could even see, like, I see, say the number's 2. I see 2 ducks, and just like project 2 ducks onto them, right? And the other person has to guess what the number is by not just like willy-nilly guessing, but by really honing in and seeing what they feel. So we're going to play this game with you, and we're going to think of the spirit animal that Alyssa is connecting with right now. Both of us will be sending this to you, and it may be in different ways because we see things and connect with things in different ways entirely. While we're very similar, this is one thing that is different for us. I think Alyssa, you see more colors, right? No. I see more colors. What do you see?
I'm a feeler.
That's what it is. Because colors are a bit more difficult for you. I think I see more colors. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. And then we'll do the reverse, where Alyssa and I will then send my animal. So we're going to start with Alyssa. Just take a moment, and we'll take a few seconds where our eyes are closed, and we're going to just project this energy to you.
I want you to feel it.
Okay, you ready? All right, Alyssa, what's the animal?
A peacock.
I was imagining shaking my feathers out, and like I was literally screaming the word peacock and projecting the image of a peacock. What were you doing?
So I was definitely screaming the word peacock because I'm very literal, but also feeling the feathers like touching my skin and things like that. So it was very much of a feeling thing and hearing the sound of the bird.
I love this because yours was touch and sound, and mine was sight. I mean, movement, that's not a sense, but I don't know.
It counts.
Okay, my turn. All right, we're gonna do it for me. You ready? Okay, magic lever.
It's funny, so it's because it's so quiet, but I'm screaming in my head.
It's so loud to us. All right, mine was otter. And I mean, you might hear water as well because my otter was splashing in the water like,
mine was too. So you're gonna hear a lot of water. It's fine.
You may guess like dolphin or orca as well, just because that's like the energy I feel like the water has, as well as screaming. Were you feeling the otter? I feel like you might have been petting an otter.
I was feeling like I was the otter moving through the water, and then I could hear, I know it's so weird, but I could hear the sound of the fin like smacking something. I was like, I don't know if that'll help, but that's what's happening right now.
I love otters. They actually are my favorite animal.
They're
because they're
so
so
cute.
playful. Mhm.
That's the energy we want right now.
It is.
Otter peacock energy.
Yes. Be playful, be vibrant, find a way to come back to your practice with fun. Because, we've been talking so much about how it is with being intentional and really focusing on yourself. And, a lot of this can be very silent and very
too serious. We've been too fucking serious recently. I'm over it.
And we need the fun. And so our challenge for you on this one is to go tap into your spirit animal. If that means, you find a fun spirit animal deck, right? And you pull a card that way. Or maybe you really pay attention to, like I said, the animal energy around you.
Hopefully not mosquitoes. We don't wish that on anyone.
There could be cockroaches. I know that apparently that's really, but think about like that. If you have cockroach energy, you survive anything. Right. Another one that's like kind of gross is vulture. But
I like vultures though.
Vulture energy is also, because vultures are the only animals that eat something that's already dead. They don't kill. So, there's a lot of nice like sustainability with vultures if you think about it in that way.
And you can even ask your kids, what's your favorite animal right now? I know that my friend's kid loves dinosaurs and can tell you every type of dinosaur that ever existed and all these fun facts about them. And you can really tap into some fun spirit animal energy that way too.
Or, another way to do that is to think about what was your favorite energy when you were a child? What did you pretend to be? What stuffed animal did you go to? Like those kinds of things, because we played that, but then we got older, like we can't have stuffed animals anymore. And you've heard Alyssa and I talk about our stuffed animals and my weird like turtle, weird turtle sparkly thingy. I have a big polywog too that Justin says is a dinosaur, and it's a polywog, but
it's a polywog.
So tap into like what that was for you as a child, because that's another way. It's just to remember that you are a child still. You're a child of the universe.
And there's no limitations. If it's a freaking unicorn, it's a freaking unicorn.
That has fins. Like it can be whatever you want it to be. Once again, there's no right and wrong. You can combine animals and make it a chimera.
I feel like we need to do an art project now.
That might be another episode where we create art. I feel like, side note for any that have kids, we watch Creative Galaxy and it's like, it's my masterpiece. And my kids love it. So I walked out today or yesterday with glue everywhere, like on the floor, on the concrete, just everywhere. It's our masterpiece, Mom. I'm so happy.
Sure is. Twitch.
I love it. Well, thank you for joining us, Magic Weavers, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
This concludes another episode of our Weaving Magic podcast.
We release one episode a week, so be sure to subscribe to catch the latest episode as soon as it releases. You can find us on Instagram at Weaving Magic Podcast. That's Weaving Magic, MAGICK Podcast.
We would also love it if you could leave us a review. If you do, make sure to email us your review so we can send you a thank you gift. Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to find a way to weave magic into your daily life.